Hello, bookies. Today I am reviewing the young adult novel The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. It was published by Little Brown Readers in 2018 and is first in the series The Folk of the Air. This year, 2019, the sequel will come out titled The Cruel King. I was interested in reading this book because way back in high school, I read some of Holly Black's other series, the Modern Fairy Tale series. I really enjoyed them as one of my first modern takes on fairy tales or the fairy realm, and that made me really interested in this new book, however many years later, jumping back into her work. Share a very brief, somewhat vague summary of this book just so that there's no spoilers, and then talk about some of my thoughts or reactions to the book. I would love to hear your own thoughts, reactions, or any questions that you might have about this book so that we can further talk about any other discussions related to this book that you'd like to share. Feel free to put that in the comment section as well. Also, I would love to see any fan art or fan theories that you found that are related to this book. The summary of The Cruel Prince is as follows. The Cruel Prince follows Jude, a young girl forcibly taken from her childhood home with her twin sister and half-sister to live in Fairy with her half-sister's biological father, a fairy warrior of noble rank. The story picks up with Jude as a teenager, still struggling to find a role in Fairy that doesn't leave her powerless. She fights to overcome the classist society, which ranks her below the lowest of the Fae, and works to prove herself to the royal family to secure herself a successful position. She becomes entwined with the upcoming succession of power to the next High King in ways she never could have predicted. I intentionally left the book review or summary pretty vague because I didn't want to include any spoilers, but there might be some hints at spoilers in what I talk about next, just to warn you. So my thoughts on The Cruel Prince. Overall, I really enjoyed this book. While I was reading it, though, I had a bit of a love-hate relationship with it. Usually when I read books, I'm able to kind of guess what will come next, or make some predictions at least, and it was frustrating in the book because I thought there'd be a lot of predictable tropes in it, kind of as you read each part, but that ended up being a very pleasant surprise for me because it ended up that I was wrong a lot, which is very surprisingly fun in a book. For example, I thought that there was going to be this repeated trope of bad boy with a soft heart, which for the record I really enjoy in books that are like more young adult related, because who doesn't love a bad boy who can secretly be won over and just love you forever? But in this book, the characters are exactly who they say they will be, instead of coming off all tough and morbid, but then really being easily redeemable and just little sweet cupcakes of love. This resulted also in ways I didn't expect. It made me a lot more interested in the characters throughout the book, as I continuously was wrong about what I thought they would do next. There are some characters who are bad and you don't care about as much and they just stay bad that add a little bit of interest. But a lot of the characters, there'll be moments where you think they're going to have a redeeming moment, or you think they're going to be basically more human. And they're not. They're fairies, and they stick with being fairies. And I thought that was very interesting, kind of rewarding in a young adult's read. I also enjoyed how the story follows Jude doing more sly work. In the beginning, she is training to be a warrior, a knight, really fighting for that kind of role in her society. And she continues with those skills. It still is a part of who she is by the end. But there's different opportunities that come along for her to be more stealthy or sneaky, which I feel like doesn't always happen. Somebody's totally different job being offered to them. One part that I didn't love as much, but it was more just a minor annoyance, was how Jude, who has all this training as a warrior and doesn't really describe any previous experiences of coming up with full-on plans to thwart other people, all of a sudden is very good at scheming. And her plans work almost flawlessly. There's like maybe one or two hiccups, but overall it goes pretty well. However, that's occurring at a time when there's a lot of exciting twists going on and some surprises, so I was pretty distracted from that annoying part. I don't want to be too harsh because it was, for the most part, really well written. It was just kind of how that it worked out a little too conveniently for Jude. But overall, I'd rather have the team I'm rooting for win in most cases, so I wasn't too upset. Questions for those watching who have already read the book. I would like to ask, what did you think of the different characters in this book, and what did you think of how their roles kind of changed or became more developed as you read on? The second question I have is, what are you most excited for in The Cruel King? I personally am very interested to see how the current king is using his power, and if he follows up with kind of it wasn't totally a threat, but maybe more of a reminder at the end of the first book about how he never wanted to be king anyways, and it sounded like he might make some decisions or choose actions that kind of back up his frustration with ending up as king. Please leave any comments you have below. I would love to hear your thoughts, what surprised you about this book, any questions that you have that you want to talk about or want to try to find answers to together. Also, I would love if you shared any fan art, fan theories that you come across or that you yourself come up with. Again, please share that in the comments below. I would love to talk more with you about this book.